It was the middle of June, and the summer heat had become relentless. The air conditioning in our house had stopped working 3 days ago, and every attempt I made to fix it ended in frustration. My name is Lauren Mitchell, and I had always considered myself pretty independent, never wanting to rely too much on others, especially when it came to things around the house. But this time, I had to admit defeat. I lived in a modest two-story house in a quiet suburb of Columbus, Ohio. My mom had remarried a few years ago to a kind man named Greg, and with him came my stepbrother, Ryan. Ryan and I were close in age. He was 24, just a year older than me. He lived about an hour away in Cincinnati, where he worked as a field technician for an HVAC company. We didn't talk daily, but when we did, it was always comfortable. There was a certain unspoken understanding between us, a kind of sibling bond that had formed naturally over time. When the AC broke, I tried calling a couple of local repair services, but the earliest available appointment was nearly 2 weeks out. That was when Mom casually suggested, "Why don't you give Ryan a call? He might be able to help." I hesitated. I didn't want to bother him. He had his own life, his job, and it wasn't like we were blood relatives. But after tossing and turning through another sweaty night with a fan blowing hot air in my face, I finally picked up my phone and texted him. "Hey Ryan, it's Lauren. Sorry to bother you, but our AC unit's totally dead. I tried a few things, but no luck. If you happen to be in the area, could you maybe take a quick look?" To my surprise, he replied within minutes. "Hey Lauren, no worries at all. I actually have a job not far from you tomorrow morning. I can swing by in the afternoon and check it out." True to his word, Ryan showed up around 2 p.m. the next day, wearing his company shirt and a smile that made me feel instantly relieved. "You look like you've been living in a sauna," he said, stepping inside with his toolkit. "Trust me, it feels worse than it looks," I groaned, wiping sweat from my forehead. He laughed and set his tools down. "Let me take a look at the unit outside first. You stay cool in here. Well, as cool as possible." While Ryan worked, I made us lemonade and waited anxiously. About an hour later, he came back inside, his shirt soaked with sweat but a confident grin on his face. "Good news," he said. "It's not as bad as it could have been. The capacitor's blown, and a couple wires looked like they were chewed by something, probably squirrels. I can replace them today if you don't mind a quick trip to the hardware store." I offered to go with him, and we spent the next 30 minutes chatting in the car, laughing about childhood summers and comparing how we each handled heat back then. I realized I'd missed talking to him like this. Our families blended well after our parents married, but we didn't spend as much time together anymore now that we were adults. Back home, Ryan got to work quickly. I stayed nearby, holding flashlights, handing him tools, and watching him work with steady confidence. It was actually kind of impressive. He explained what he was doing, showing me how to check different components and what signs of damage to look for. By late evening, cold air was finally flowing through the vents again. I nearly jumped for joy. "You're a lifesaver, Ryan. Seriously." He grinned. "Glad I could help. And hey, at least now you know what to do if this happens again." I offered to cook him dinner as a thank you. At first, he tried to decline, but I insisted. We ended up eating pasta and watching a movie in the living room, the AC humming quietly in the background like a comforting lullaby. For the first time in days, I felt relaxed. Over dinner, we got into deeper conversation. He asked about my job at the graphic design studio, and I asked about the clients he dealt with in his line of work. Ryan talked about how stressful it could be on some days, especially when customers were difficult or when he had to work in attics during peak heat. I admired his dedication and how grounded he was. Eventually, our parents called to check in. I put them on speakerphone, and Mom was thrilled to hear Ryan had come by. "I knew you two would figure it out," she said. "You make a great team." After the call ended, we fell into a comfortable silence. I looked at Ryan and smiled. "Thanks again, seriously. I don't know what I would have done without you." He shrugged modestly. "You would have figured it out. But I'm glad I was around." It was getting late, and I offered to set up the guest room for him, but Ryan said he had to head back. Before he left, he paused at the door and turned back. "Next time something breaks, don't wait days to call, okay?" I nodded, laughing. "Deal." The next few weeks passed quietly, but something about that day stuck with me. It wasn't just that he fixed the AC, it was how he stepped in without hesitation, how he made me feel like I wasn't alone. I didn't realize how much I needed that reassurance until he gave it. A few weeks later, a freak storm rolled through town and knocked the power out. My house went dark, and I panicked a little. I wasn't used to handling emergencies alone. I thought about calling the electric company, but instead, I dialed Ryan. "Hey," I said. "Everything's dark here, and I don't know if it's just my street or the whole neighborhood. Do you think you could?" "I'm on my way," he said without missing a beat. He showed up with a flashlight, extra batteries, and even a backup power bank for my phone. We lit some candles and played cards in the living room while waiting for the lights to come back on. It was such a small, simple moment, but it meant the world to me. The truth is, my stepbrother's help was never just about fixing things. It was about showing up, about being reliable, about family, even if not by blood. Ryan had proven time and again that I could count on him, not just for air conditioners and power outages, but for comfort, laughter, and support. As the months passed, he continued to visit more often. Sometimes for dinner, sometimes just to hang out. Our bond strengthened in a way I hadn't expected, and soon, it felt like we'd always been part of each other's lives. One weekend, while helping me paint the guest room, he looked around and said, "This place is starting to feel like a second home." I smiled. "That's because you helped make it one." Ryan grinned, setting down his brush. "Well, good. Because I kind of like being needed around here." And in that moment, I realized that needing someone doesn't make you weak. It just means you're human. And I was lucky enough to have someone who didn't just help when I needed it but wanted to.